Greetings, everyone. Welcome to our book critique. In this presentation, we will be analyzing the work of Elaine Beek, Thriving Through Change, a Leader's Practical Guide to Change Mastery. Objectives within this analysis will include an introduction to the book and how this may be a beneficial resource for you to utilize in any organizational development effort. The book's overarching objective is to provide the reader guidance on best practices to implement organizational change. This emphasizes the use of the change model, and we will bridge how this approach connects with the literature of the OD reader. We will also reflect on the overall key elements that we've discovered within our group analysis, which will lead to our final critique summary and recommendations on whether this book is something you might consider worthwhile to have in your personal library. Here's a brief introduction of what this book offers. This can serve as a valuable resource for change agents or leaders within organizations. It is written and structured quite simplistically through an easy-to-follow step-by-step approach to implement successful change. It comes with a plethora of tools, worksheets, and strategies to choose from, which can be utilized for any change initiative. It comes with a CD-ROM to share information within your members of your group, and the strategies that Elaine Beek offers have all been rigorously tested through sound evidence. Now let's go over the principles of the change model and how this can be an effective tool in your process to implement change within your organization. This is a 6-step process that has been organized quite nicely by using the acronym CHANGE. First, you challenge the current state. Next, harmonize and align leadership. Then activate commitment, nurture and formalize a design, guide implementation, and finally evaluate and institutionalize the change. This 6-step change model can be used in a variety of settings where there is an urgency to implement changes to organizational development, structures, or system processes, geared to empower change agents such as facilitators, consultants, and organizational leaders to plan, implement, and evaluate any change effort. The change model provides a simple and easy-to-follow approach to identify quality improvement opportunities and to optimize successful adoption to long-term change. Now that we've covered a brief intro of the book and change model, let's look at each step more in detail. The first step in Beek's model is to challenge the current state. This is the pre-planning phase of change, where we develop our reasons behind the change, grounded in data and analysis. This can be linked to Lewin's change model of unfreezing and Block's first consulting task of defining the problem, creating a shared vision and a sense of urgency through what Senge calls creative tension or excitement, is something that resonated with our whole group. Fee and myself said it best in defining each phase of this step and how they are interrelated. The purpose of the business case is to ignite urgency because the business case is the story behind the change. Next, we focus on harmonizing and aligning leadership. The key takeaway for all of us in this step is the people and having the right team on board. Carrying over from the first step, vision here again helps us get the right people and provides direction and clarity in working towards one unified goal. I pose a question here that helps us understand the importance of vision to the change effort, stating, without a vision, how can anyone be in a position to feel intrinsically committed to challenge the current state? Having the right people does not mean, however, that all should agree. Both Katie and Fia strongly resonated with Beek in pointing out that having dissension or a vocal opponent to the change effort can help the team consider all viewpoints and challenge their reasoning. In the end, that opponent hopefully becomes a champion for your cause, as was the result for Fia. In alignment to this idea of having the right people, Jill believes it is also valuable to consider your own role and how your actions and behaviors are contributing to the change effort. She writes, "Before I could take on a change agent role, through personal reflection, I realized that my mental model, that as a middle manager, being unable to act with independence of thought, was damaging the change effort." We now move on to activating commitment. This step focuses on designing the implementation plan, which evaluates impact, prepares people for impact, refines communication plans, and provides opportunities to recognize and celebrate successes. This aligns with Peter Block's flawless consulting of engagement and change resistance. Processes are designed to evaluate and plan for commitment that uses the principles of Lewin's 3-step model of unfreezing as indicated in Burns. Planning to address resistance will include source identification and being able to overcome obstacles as to reach a quasi-stationary equilibrium state, as mentioned in Lewin's field theory, and to lead with a vision by maintaining communication, leading by example, and making efforts compelling to those involved. This aligns to the work in Senge in building shared visions. Step 4 is to nurture and formalize the design. Essentially, this step is to nurture change processes to function optimally and to plan for system-wide impact. These principles address system theory of interrelationships and processes as indicated in Senge. This is an opportunity to update implementation strategies through critical reflection, which would involve revisiting and refining metrics. This practice aligns with Kotter's work of leading change through empowering others to act on change. Risk management is an essential component within nurturing and formalizing a design through the 4 steps of identification, analysis, option development, and monitoring. This establishes a contingency plan and utilizing tools such as Gantt and PERT charts, action mapping, and role or responsibility matrices. All are valuable principles addressed through internal consulting practices by Weiss as part of assessing interpersonal and cultural dynamics related to risk. Included in her analysis, Katie explains that Thriving Through Change provided a number of actionable recommendations for managing a change effort. Throughout the book, the similarities in principles and recommendations between the text and the OD reader were encouraging, even with each text taking a different approach. As we discussed as a team, the OD text provided heavy theory and background on subjects, while the Beak text provided a bare-bones background and focused more heavily on tools, techniques, and actionable tasks. Reading the two together definitely enhanced my learning of the material in both texts. This was a positive takeaway for me. I also appreciated a number of topics out of Chapter 10 such as politics of change, the 5 laws of change, keys to unleashing your influence as change manager, and 4 questions that every employee wants answered. Lastly, the question that guided my learning most significantly through this text was, what is the relationship between change management and project management? Through this lens, I was able to ascertain that leading a change effort is a type of project management in most respects, and they share many of the same best practices and tools. Change management can be viewed as a subset of project management with its own unique guiding principles and considerations. Now we move into one of the most important steps, guiding implementation. Step 5 in Beek's change model focuses on engaging all stakeholders to drive the implementation effort until the change has become part of the organization's culture. This step is grounded in Lewin's theory of refreezing and Notter's concept of planning and creating short-term wins. It also connects with Nadler's concept of organizational fit, where change agents must align informal operations with organizational tasks to improve the success and sustainability of the change effort. In this step, the change agent plays a vital role which draws to Schwartz's 5 different facilitative roles and Parker's idea on effective teams and shared leadership. The key takeaway from this step is that no matter how well you plan, all things will not go smoothly. Therefore, the change agent must continuously encourage involvement and build momentum and motivate everyone so that employees do not revert back to the way it was before the change effort has taken root. Now we take the final step to evaluate and institutionalize the change. Evaluating the change effort allows the organization to learn from mistakes and successes, creating valuable information and lessons learned in preparation for the next change initiative. The author's discussion on evaluation is supported by concepts from the OD reader, such as team self-assessment, group problem-solving model, and generative learning. Institutionalization parallels with Notter's last step to anchor changes in the organizational culture and Disselhorst's last phase of the OD consulting process. Key takeaway is that change is not a switch that can be turned off and on. In order for a change initiative to become part of an organization's culture, it will take time and a significant amount of continuous attention, focus, reevaluation, and discussion to keep it alive. Now for our critique summary. Jill states, Beek's Thriving Through Change was exceptionally impactful in my understanding of the OD reader and in applying change theory to my real-life situation at my organization. I felt Beek's text was a simpler application of the change theories presented throughout our OD reader. As a standalone text, it probably would not be as impactful for someone learning and understanding change theory, because it lacked depth in the history of the organizational development and the models already in practice that which she developed hers from. The most impactful moments of her book, as characterized in our presentation, have been those which I was able to make connection to the more robust collection in our Josie Bass reader. The two books do complement each other well. Katie states, Thriving Through Change does a nice job of summarizing many key points and considerations relevant to guiding organizational change. The material is organized according to the Beek's change model, and while I felt this approach worked to a certain extent, I didn't feel the 6 steps of the model had any particular staying power in the mind of the reader. Similarly, some content bled from one chapter to another, and I felt the model used seemed to suggest a linear process for managing change efforts, when this is not the case. The content was based in solid OD theory and cited many renowned OD practitioners, such as Lewin Cotter and Senge, but the order of the material seemed oddly organized at times. Chapter 10 provided advice on the other key points of consideration I felt really enhanced the text and added value. Overall, I felt this text provided a number of strong, well-founded tools and techniques for managing change, as well as a fair dose of discussion about the theory of change and how it impacts people. I would recommend this book for change leaders and OD consultants who are seeking refresher material or quick tips. I would not recommend this book as a standalone resource for an inexperienced change leader or consultant. Fia states, Thriving Through Change is a great resource for anyone who has been tasked with implementing a change initiative in their organization. The goal of the book is to not teach theories and concept of change, but to provide a simple model anyone can follow. Its practical approach helps leaders navigate the change process from idea to institutionalization. For me, the book helped bring the theories and concepts learned in the course to life and provides real-world applications that I could use and share within my organization. I enjoyed this book, and it helped me further my understanding of organizational development. Development involves change, and change involves development. They are synonymous and interchangeable. The practical strategies that this book illustrates should definitely be used in conjunction with the theological and philosophical readings of the OD second text. The OD reader provides the why of change, and the Beak provides the how. Although this book provides a practical guide to change mastery, it does not, in my opinion, teach the reader to become masterful. This requires deep critical reflection and a foundational understanding of the relational and systematic theories involved in organizational development. Therefore, incorporating the work of OD theory is recommended. This concludes our presentation analysis on Elaine Beek's Thriving Through Change, a leader's practical guide to change mastery. We hope you have found this information useful. Thank you for viewing. Take care and be well.